Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Monday, December 11th, 2017. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happening today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin was up 7.37% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 16,340, a high of 16,545, and a low of 14,666. That's $1 for 6,080 Satoshis as we get very close to the $5,000 Satoshi barrier. Bitcoin rally continues even as futures forecast even higher prices. That's right, the Bitcoin rally continued Monday after the launch of futures. However, the futures launch put record Bitcoin highs back in play according to Coinbase. CoinDesk shows that the above chart with the 3 daily candles have long tails, a big gap between the intraday long, low, and close, indicating strong demand. If we look at the 4-hour chart, we see that the rising low pattern is intact, as highlighted by the ascending trade line. Bitcoin futures are making the price go up. Twitter reacted to the CBOE crash at the launch of Bitcoin futures. Just minutes into the futures launch, the CBOE website went down. Bitcoin's strength continues to shine. Even fancy websites like the Chicago Bank of Exchange cannot handle Bitcoin. Ronnie Moe said Amazon went from 40 to 1,200, even though shorts tried to hit it. He's not worried about short manipulation. He believes with Bitcoin with a 270 billion valuation is now a top 20 currency and cannot be easily manipulated. JVH was one of the first to trade Bitcoin futures. He's losing the trade, but he was still the first. James Woods, the actor, checks in. He's not a fan of the Federal Reserve, but he likes tangible things. Old man Woods doesn't understand Bitcoin. And we had some great comments from Brian Kelly and Trace Mayers. Bitcoin futures launched 15 minutes ago. CBOE site is down. Coinbase is down. Lots of exchanges are down. Guess they do not know how to scale. Bitcoin network is up and has not experienced any downtime. Good point from Trace Meyer. Will Bitcoin reach $142,000 or more? According to Seeking Alpha, an analyst there named Michael Bryant says that Bitcoin moves upwards in cycles, and there's a good chance that it falls before heading higher. This may be the correction that we're having right now. This may be enough of a correction, but we'll have to find out more. For more on this and Bitcoin futures, we're joined by Andy Hoffman from CryptoGoldCentral.com. How's it going, Andy?
Good. I was just scanning Jose Canseco's Twitter to see if he had any comments, but none. Just about baseball.
It's been unbelievable for me because, of course, as an A's fan growing up, I watched Canseco. I've read all of his books. He was the Typhoid Mary of steroids, whatever that means.
Yeah, no, I think it was fantastic. Whether he did it for himself or not, he was a major whistleblower that cast a light on both himself and the rest of baseball. So, I mean, I think he did a net positive for society. More importantly, he's been telling people to buy Bitcoin. So good for him.
Good for Canseco. And what are your thoughts, Andy, on the CBOE launching Bitcoin futures? A lot of people were afraid Wall Street was going to short us into the ground.
Right. Well, no one who has had more experience in that topic than myself, having watched the gold and silver markets to this day held down for, I don't know, 30 or 40 years with futures and a variety of other manipulative derivatives and other kinds of kind of illegal, unethical, or immoral tactics. But from day one, I said this will not be the case with Bitcoin. The biggest reason because Wall Street wants to go net long this. There's no reason to hold it down. They believe, like we do, the wall of institutional money, that this is one of the best, if not the best, investment opportunities they've ever seen, and that they'd be piling in en masse. And that's just a small part of why. Other reasons being that governments don't own any Bitcoin, so they can't even pretend that they have an overhang over the market to sell. They are buying Bitcoin. We know that they're buying Bitcoin, and they're going to be buying more, either for investment purposes or to save themselves. So what happened, so again, you have all the FUD going into last night. Oh, Wall Street wants to short it. And I've been saying there's no way they want to short it. They want to buy it. So let's see what happens when they open. And what happened? In the first minute, the price went up $1,400. and then they had to halt it twice at limit up with their circuit breakers. So I think that tells you what Wall Street pent up demand was to do, not to short it, but to buy it. But two other incredibly bullish things that we've seen already. Again, they've only been trading for what, 17 hours. One, the differences. They were saying, the FUDsters, the MSM, the Peter Schiffs was saying, oh, you have all these discrepancies across the exchanges. How are the traders going to handle this? It's going to blow up on everybody. And, because remember, last Thursday, when the price got to this level on Bitstamp and Bitfinex, like mid 16,000s, we saw $25,000 prices in Korea. We saw 18 or 19 on CoinDesk. But take a look now. We're at 16,300 or 400 with Bitstamp, Bitfinex. And the entire world is within $500. And even in Korea, the one exception, it's only $1,000 more at 17,500. So you've seen prices go up. You've seen major reduction in the arbitrage between the exchanges. And on top of that, the price has been pretty stable considering after the first jump. They've been sitting around for hours now, very stably at the same price level. So, I mean, that's some serious proof that the futures were a major positive for Bitcoin in the first 17 hours of trading.
It's also worth noting you mentioned countries buying Bitcoin. I know Bulgaria had a criminal case where they seized 253,000 Bitcoin, which they held during the criminal trial, and now are sitting on, I think, around $3 billion, which they say is 25% of their national debt. There's a real possibility that this country could accidentally pay off their national debt because of seizing Bitcoin from criminals.
Yeah, that would be the equivalent of the U.S. having $4 trillion or $5 trillion worth of Bitcoin. And, it wouldn't be the first time that someone had an investment that accidentally worked out for them and then they became a major advocate of it. Because
what's sad is I was rooting for the U.S. government to do this when they seized the Silk Road coins. I said at the time they could build a whole series of new Smithsonian museums with all this money when it matures. But of course, they sold it off to Tim Draper and now took an incredible loss.
Yeah, and then they sold it on purpose. They wanted to show they were selling it because they didn't believe in it, when they could have just sat quietly with it and not said anything. But they made it a political point to do so, and look what it did for them. It could have changed I don't know if that was enough Bitcoin to change the course of American history, but in Bulgaria it is, because Bulgaria already realizes just from a small stash that they've taken out 20% of their debt. And so maybe they say, well, look, why don't we buy another 500,000? Why don't we just put that 3 billion in? It's house money, and come back 3 years from now, and we might have paid off our national debt. And guess what? We'll be more powerful and beloved as a government, and amongst our people and amongst our peers. I mean, I wrote an article a few weeks ago or months ago even called "Bitcoin Will Make or Break Governments," and depending on what choices they make, they could move up or move down dramatically in the global hierarchy. And Bulgaria is just the kind of country that has been kind of a laughingstock for decades since its existence. And you could look up 10 years from now, and Bulgaria is a well-respected, more wealthy member of the European Union than most of the other countries, if there even is a European Union. And then you can get a country like the US that purposely sell Bitcoin to spite its own face and winds up with a major currency crisis.
There's also a chance for a country out there to become the Bitcoin haven, the place where people go, people get rid of their citizenships, they join there. That could be a really impressive country as well. And we're still taking offers. Estonia is a possibility. They have a lot of ICOs now, I hear. So.
Well, I've already made it a point that I wrote about a month ago or so. Switzerland will be the first major Western country to announce that it has. I'm not talking about Bulgaria accidentally having some, or some small country that's like a third world country trying to just put itself on the map. I'm talking about, as a first world nation, Switzerland is going to at some point disclose that they have bought a lot of Bitcoin, and that if they have any national debt, it's paid it all off already, and it's only going to re-cement their status as one of the wealthiest safe haven nations in the world. And I look forward to that, because you know that many others are, I mean, there's no doubt Japan is doing it and several others. It's just a matter of when the cards shake out and Bitcoin becomes that much more important in the world, which countries will have the Bitcoin, much as we once thought, he who owns the gold rules the world. Well, now it's he who owns the Bitcoin. So we'll see which countries made smart decisions and made their future, and which ones made bad decisions and broke their future.
It's been some pretty exciting times for Bitcoin. We've had a lot of the bad news go away. We have more than one exchange now. It's run by competent people. And we have this futures launch. We have presumably in the future, the Chinese will change their mind and start trading Bitcoin again. Also, we have this possibility of governments buying Bitcoin. So I see a lot of future positive events for Bitcoin. You agree, Andy?
Right. And don't forget those ETFs, because just like I was listening to the Bitcoin news the other day, and they're talking about how the futures, put a stability on the markets and an ability to hedge. Well, it's also going to be the financial catalyst for getting the ETFs, because it will stabilize the markets and make it easier for regulators to regulate and to understand how it works. So I think when the ETFs get approved, which I mean, it's not even a question, they're going to get approved in the first half of next year, and I would bet in the first quarter of next year. And then you're going to see some real retail participation. So what I call the retail wall is going to join the institutional wall. And at that point, it's going to be globally ubiquitous. This is the beginning of the S curve, right at the very beginning. This is it. 2018 is where it starts. Maybe it started a little prematurely at the end of this year because of SegWit activation and the end of 2x and Bcash as threats. But 2018 will change the world monetarily forever.
2018, you heard it here. And I would just like to thank everyone for watching. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. If it's your first time here, please subscribe down below. And if you've got some of those 2018 Bitcoins that you'd like to donate right now, you could use the address on your screen. I'm told it has segregated witness now. So that's great. Thanks, Andy, so much for joining us. Anything you want to say before we close?
No, just enjoy it, everyone. We're going to have a really nice Santa Claus rally is my guess, and that's going to be nothing compared to 2018.
Nothing compared to 2018. Well, we're looking forward to it. Until next time, bye-bye.